Welcome to Book Boop. I am so sorry that this video is late, and I'm sorry if I say anything too crazy in this video because I am 4 days in to potty training my 2-year-old child, and my husband and I are exhausted. So this could be an interesting video, but I'm very excited about this video today because I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite book series of all time. Honestly, probably bigger than Harry Potter for me. Gasp. Yes. Insane, I know. But today I will be talking about a book series that I love and it is cherished by many people. And I'll also be talking about a brand new book that is kind of sort of connected to it. So let's go ahead and jump in. So today, first of all, I'm going to be talking about The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. This is probably my most beloved book series from my life, my childhood. I have so many warm, fuzzy, wonderful feelings about this series. If you've never read The Chronicles of Narnia, I highly, highly recommend it. It is so much fun to read. It's great for kids, great for young adults, great for adults, great for everybody. So you have no excuses, you need to read it. There's so many different ways that you can inhale this series. You can either read the books, which I love doing, but there are other options as well. Before I get into that, let me give a quick synopsis of at least this book, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It's probably the most talked about one that pretty much everybody knows. And we follow 4 children, the Pevensey kids. There's 2 boys and 2 girls. There are Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy. This takes place during World War II, and they are sent off to the countryside to get away from the war and sent to this old bachelor in this mansion, and he's this old professor. And they end up going through a wardrobe and finding themselves in a magical land called Narnia. And from there, they find out that they are the prophesied kings and queens to come to help save Narnia from the evil White Witch who has created a permanent winter where it is winter, but never Christmas. I absolutely love this book so much, not only because of the story and it's just beautiful and it's so much fun and action-packed, but it also has a lot of parallels to the Passion of the Christ, specifically in this one. There's just so many parallels to the Bible throughout the entire series. There are 7 books in the whole series. I highly recommend you read it, whether you're Christian or not. If you're not a believer, that's totally cool. I'm not saying this is like oversaturated and will beat you over the head with Christian stuff, but I think you'll really love it. However, if you're not really into reading the whole series, I highly recommend and cannot recommend enough the Focus on the Family radio theater productions of all of these. Sorry, there's a glare. Of all of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Oh, sorry, all of the Chronicles of Narnia. They've done all of them. They are incredible. These are not necessarily audiobooks, even though they are pretty much word for word of the books. These are straight, full out theater productions. Think back in the day when there was no television and people used the radio as their main source of entertainment. They'd listen to shows like Little Orphan Annie, things like that, and there would be voice actors, there'd be sound effects, there'd be music. It was like, well, pretty much watching a movie, but just hearing it. That's what this is, and it is amazing. I listened to these on repeat for years upon years upon years upon years, to the point where I was able to pretty much say all the lines along with the actors. I love these so much. They are so worth it. Such an incredible way to experience the Chronicles of Narnia. There have been several movie adaptations as well, my favorite of which are the BBC movie adaptations. I absolutely love them. They're old and kind of cheesy, but I grew up on them and I loved them so much. I should have gotten out the DVDs. I have those. But then, of course, there's some more recent adaptations of it. I think Disney did, and they only got through The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. They did the first 3 books. I've been waiting so long for somebody to please do all of them, at least the ones that no one's done movies of before, like The Magician's Nephew, The Horse and His Boy, and The Last Battle. They're such incredible books, and most people don't know about them as much because they've never been turned into a movie. But I highly recommend Focus on the Family radio theater, or just reading the books. They're so good. I have so many wonderful feelings about those books. They're some of my favorites from my childhood, and they bring me back to my childhood when I read them or when I listen to the radio theater productions, and they bring me back to that childlike faith that we're called to have as Christians, to have faith like a child and to believe in Christ in that way. And so anyways, that's enough of my soapbox. Okay, so this new book that I'm going to talk about, I just finished reading very recently, and that is The Light Between Worlds by, make sure I say it right, Laura E., I don't know if it's Weymouth or Weymouth. apologize. I'm not sure which way to say it. But the reason I'm talking about this book along with the Chronicles of Narnia is because this book has a lot of parallels to the Chronicles of Narnia. In that, we follow 3 siblings, 2 girls and a boy, and during World War II, actually during a bomb raid, they are whisked away to this magical place called the Woodlands, very similar to Narnia. And when they arrive there, they end up helping out the Woodlanders to fight against this evil tyrant who's trying to take over their land. And they end up being there for 6 years. And then they end up returning 6 years later to our world, finding that time has not passed at all, which is extremely similar to the Chronicles of Narnia and the 4 Pevensey kids, because they actually end up in Narnia way longer than that. And when they're sent back to our world, they're back to pretty much the exact second that they left. So they go back from being about in their 20s, and all of a sudden the youngest one is like a little girl again. She's like 7. It's crazy. So that's what kind of happens in The Light Between Worlds. Sorry, let me hold this up a little bit more because you got to see the cover. It's gorgeous. Look at this cover. It's beautiful. I mean, how would you not want to read this? But anyways, this book, it does kind of tell the backstory of what happens in the Woodlands, and it is a fantasy novel, but also it's actually a pretty heavy book. It mainly follows the 2 sisters and basically the aftermath of what it was like for them to be in this world and then transported back to their own world where they lose all those years. We follow the youngest sister first, the first half of the book, and her experience of being transported back to our world, and she truly feels like she belongs in the Woodlands, and she's struggling and having a very, very hard time adjusting being back to our world. And then the other sister she wanted to come back here. She wanted to come back to her own world, and she never really quite felt at home at the Woodlands. And so we kind of see what happens between these 2 sisters, and we mainly follow the sister that is truly struggling and who desperately wants to get back to the Woodlands. I will say, if you're interested in reading this book, there are some trigger warnings in here for self-harm. The younger sister who's having trouble adjusting, she ends up kind of turning to some not so healthy things. So I will say, be wary of that. There are some heavy topics of that in here. But along in this book, eventually the younger sister disappears, and then there's a mystery, and then we switch to the other sister, and she basically tries to find out what happened to her sister that is missing. Not sure if she's made it back to the Woodlands, not sure what's happened to her. This book I really enjoyed a lot. I gave it 4 stars out of 5. I really struggled figuring out what to give this book because it was so different than anything I've ever read before. I usually don't read books that are this heavy and have a lot of heavy content. And so I really struggled deciding what to rate it because I didn't have anything really to compare it to, but I actually really enjoyed it a lot. And because I love Chronicles of Narnia so much, I did enjoy this book, even though it is a lot heavier and darker than what you would find in the Chronicles of Narnia, I think. There are heavy topics in Chronicles of Narnia, but not to the point of like self-harm or stuff like that. But if you're a fan of Chronicles of Narnia especially, and just sort of the idea of being transported to another world and then thrown back into ours again and seeing the adjustment of that, then I would recommend this book. I did really enjoy it a lot, so I recommend. Heavy, but good. So that's pretty much all I've got for today. My brain is like scrambled eggs right now and I can't think straight. But if you have a book series that you read when you were younger and it just holds so close to your heart and you want everybody to read it, let me know what that is down below, whether it's a book series or just a single book, just your favorite childhood book that you're just so passionate about and you have so many warm fuzzies about. Let me know what that is. Also, if you've read The Light Between Worlds, let me know what you thought about it. I would love to hear everyone's opinions about it and what they thought about it because it is such an interesting and jarring book. So I would love to hear your thoughts. On this side of the screen over here, or is it over here? My brain is so scrambled. I think it's on this side of the screen. You're going to see my logo. And if you click on that, you can subscribe to my channel. You can follow me on my book journey. On this side over here is, I think, is going to be a video that you can click on if you would like to watch another one of my videos right now. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening to my rambling. You rock. And don't forget to keep reading. Bye.